Welcome. This is our Afterthoughts segment where we keep our guest on the panel for some extended conversation that is only seen on the web. So we wanted to have our group stay over. This is our Rapid Fire Sunday group. We have Steve Bowen with the Maine Heritage Policy Center. I was going to get that right. Nicole Witherby with the Maine Center for Economic Policy. Got to get the C in there right.
Yes.
Long titles.
And Dean John Mann, the Dean of the Maine School of Business for the University of Maine. So thank you for being here. We had a couple of good sessions. We do want to continue on our conversation. I want to back up a little bit and just talk a little bit more about the healthcare issue. We got into that, and in particular, we talked about competition. We talked about the importance of kind of the national healthcare debate issue and why that's happening seemingly in D.C., but we have a big Maine thumbprint on it. It's called Olympia Snow and Susan Collins.
Yep.
But how that's really going to impact businesses here in Maine in particular. But it finally got to the conversation was all about competition. Is it really going to increase competition? Without a public option, will there be real competition? That's one question. And two, can we really have competition if we can't get rid of the state boundaries and do it nationwide?
I think.
I was going to say that's the key. I mean, I like the idea of experimenting. I mean, there was a bill in front of the legislature that would have allowed Maine residents to buy health insurance from any of the New England states, a licensed health insurance product from any of the other New England states. It wasn't nationwide. You weren't going to be buying these from across the country. You were just going to buy them from New England, other New England states, because the other New England states have more healthcare companies offering insurance than we do. And it was defeated. And, that would have been a great little experiment to go across state lines. I mean, we have a very, very strict regulatory structure. I lied. I did go back to the regulatory structure. We have a regulatory structure that drives up our healthcare costs. There isn't any reason why our health insurance rates need to be so high compared to even New Hampshire, right next door, where health insurance is much less expensive because they have a different regulatory structure. And I think if we can go across state lines and allow people to buy and make sure there's transparency, that they know what they're buying, and create competition, why can't we try that?
I think Snow, really did offer a remarkably thoughtful amendment, and that is have the hammer of government doing it in abeyance, like it's there. We're going to give you a chance and see if you can adjust, and if not, we'll pull the trigger and away we go.
Do these triggers ever really get pulled, though?
Well, it depends how you write it, but at least,
they haven't, really.
But you are giving a warning shot, though. And
didn't we give a warning shot a decade ago and more than that? I mean, haven't we been working on this issue for an awful long time?
I think it reflects the intractability of the problem. If we really do get this wrong, we will be back in another recession again, and our small businesses will be crippled by it. Really, is
I agree.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
Can I just make one comment around particularly small businesses in Maine, and that is that I'm a little bit nervous about the Senate Finance Committee bill. I think it has a lot of really good aspects to it, but I think that one of the things that people have tried to do in an effort to get the cost down is to provide a little bit less help for people who are kind of just out of poverty, more middle income Americans, and this is really the individual market. So you're really talking about the self-employed, small businesses.
And you're talking about Maine.
Yeah, we're talking about Maine. And if you're going to have an individual mandate, no employer mandate, but an individual mandate with subsidies that don't kick in until 8%, which is better than the 10% until Senator Snow came along and made that better. Then you still have a family at say just under $37,000 a year, three people in the family. What is that? At 7%, there would be maybe $2,700 a year in premium costs. That doesn't even include out-of-pocket expenses. That's more than they can afford, but they're mandated to get that coverage. So, are we really going to cover the people that are really most vulnerable?
And I think you got it just right when you said whatever we do, let's not mess it up because we get a good chance to do this. But if it doesn't, when you brought earlier that this is a major part of our economic issue and making the change, healthcare costs. But if we get it wrong, we can spiral the other direction.
And we have an interesting peculiarity, and that is the geographic dispersal of our population, and not having, I would argue, enough health centers, place where people can go for help, poses another challenge too. You're somewhere way up in the county. You could be hours away from healthcare. We haven't figured that one out yet either.
Right.
Well, if you consider the fact that 62%, the American Journal of Medicine put out this report that in 2007, 62% of bankruptcies were due to medical expenses, which is a 50% increase from 2001, and 3/4 of that 62% I know we're getting in the weeds a little bit, but 3/4 of those people were insured.
Right.
And if I could just add on to that, we have more and more people, and I forget what the number is, reaching the maximum on their insurance. People forget about that. Most policies, you have like a $1 million lifetime limit. And, you know, if you get some catastrophic issue that happens with you or your family, you can reach that pretty quickly now, and you have no other option.